Governor DeWine calls for the end of the death penalty in Ohio. Welcome to Columbus on the Record. I'm Mike Thompson. In the early 1980s, a tough-on-crime former prosecutor helped write Ohio's death penalty law. That new state senator was Mike DeWine. As Ohio's Attorney General, DeWine helped carry out 15 executions. Now, in his final days as governor, DeWine says Ohio should end capital punishment. His sole reason, it is not a deterrent because it takes too long to execute a convicted murderer.
First, they got to get caught. Then they're indicted. Then they're convicted. Then a death sentence is handed down. Even after all that, their odds of actually being executed are not very high.
At this point, DeWine's change in position seems a little more than symbolic. Republican leaders in the legislature support the death penalty. There is no movement ready to put the issue on the ballot. The only thing DeWine can do at this point is commute the sentences of people on death row, and he would not say whether he plans to do that. Sarah Donaldson, the reason for his switch was very logical, very data-driven. He never said he was morally opposed to the death penalty. This was a prosecutor making this case, right?
Well, he was asked about his faith, and I think he talked about the fact that that deterrence aspect was the moral justification for him, and that no longer exists. So, it's interesting. This was a long time coming because although you pointed out that Governor DeWine in his prior positions was very supportive of the death penalty in the ways that he acted, as governor, he has delayed every scheduled execution since he took office in 2019. He's blamed a lot of that on the lack of accessibility to lethal injection drugs. However, prosecutors and other pro-death penalty folks like Representative Brian Stewart, he's a Republican, he's the one who was pushing that nitrogen gas bill. They've called it an excuse. So I think the writing was on the walls. I asked the governor about this in 2024, if he was going to make a comment on the death penalty, take a stronger stance. He said he'd have more to say after the budget. The budget passed in June 2025, and it's almost a whole year later. So he waited till his final months.
206 days, Herb. He's got 206 days left in his governorship. Why now, when he's really a lame duck? He's really a lame duck with a capital L. Why not do this right after he was elected with 65% of the vote his last time?
Because it would have been too controversial, and it would have interfered with other things on his agenda. So I think he wanted to finally make the statement on this, but the statement that was finally made, if you look at it logically, what he's saying, if we could speed it up, I wouldn't be opposed to it. And that's not the position I really thought he was going to arrive at. I thought he'd be adding publicly a statement about his own personal beliefs and also the impracticality of a death penalty.
Terry.
But on the aspect of speeding it up, when the bill was originally written, Paul Pfeiffer, later Supreme Court Justice, was a key writer of it with Mike DeWine. They purposely built in a lot of safeguards, as after one of the shows with Benson Woolman, former head of the ACLU, he pointed out Ohio has a good law in making sure that people have adequate legal representation if you're accused of a death penalty type crime. So there are protections in there that both drag it out but lessen the impact. And I had a son in high school, did a report on capital punishment, and he interviewed Mike Miller, then the county prosecutor. And Mike Miller was very honest in acknowledging that most criminals don't fear the death penalty because they think they're too smart and won't get caught. So there's tangles, and then Eve Stratton on the Ohio Supreme Court made the point to my son, it's a classic thing. Do you believe the Old Testament or do you believe the New Testament with redemption versus an eye for an eye? So there's a lot of questions and divides.
If you recall, former Attorney General Jim Petro and his wife were very much involved in the Innocence Project, which was really looking at those cases where, in fact, an innocent person had been convicted and luckily had not yet been put to death.
Now, he didn't mention anything about wrongfully convicted people who have been on death row, who have had their cases thrown out or they've been found innocent.
He did in passing, because it was a long press conference. He talked
He
for
stuck
almost.
to this is the reason why I'm doing this is because it's not a deterrent. I wasn't very careful.
Absolutely,
He
but
didn't
he-
talk about morality. He didn't talk about
But he did
wrongful
talk
conviction.
about the people who were involved.
He talked about the families.
the families,
Yeah.
the victims' families who have said that they want
Yeah.
that convicted person executed, as well as the victims' families who don't. He also pointed to the people who have to carry out the execution. So
Yeah.
I think reading between the lines, which you often have to do with Mike DeWine, he did point to some moral issues that he has with it. But of course, it was a stark difference from, I asked U.S. Senator Bernie Moreno, who of course doesn't have a vote in the matter, but he's a Republican senator, top-ranking Republican official in Ohio, and he said plain out, God gets to decide who dies. He's also opposed to the death penalty. So I think although DeWine is coming out and saying this, and it doesn't seem like there's the support in the legislature, there are more Republicans who have come out in recent years against the death penalty.
Terry, if this were to go to a vote in the legislature, now Matt Huffman, the House Speaker, is not going to allow it to get to the floor. But if it got to the floor, would there be enough Republicans to join Democrats to abolish the death penalty?
Not today. Now, clearly there's been shifts and there's some prominent Republicans on House and Senate who've shifted over the years, including a lot of strong right-to-life people who believe in life of both types. But clearly, times are changing and things have shifted. But if you talk to a Ron O'Brien, former Franklin County prosecutor, he'll tell you one of the biggest things, and I've done focus groups and heard people say it, they might be opposed to capital punishment, but there are certain heinous crimes, prison guards, police officers, young children raped and murdered, where people who oppose capital punishment would say, yes, but that deserves it. So there's a lot of shades of gray. It's clearly shifting, but the votes are not there today to repeal it.
The Attorney General, new Attorney General, appointed by Governor DeWine, he started just, 2 weeks ago, a little less than 2 weeks ago, Andy Wilson, kind of went against the governor, said, no, I support the death penalty. He says in a small percentage of cases, it's really the only way to give victims' families justice. Surprised by that stand he took?
No, actually, that's probably very close to what Terry just said. There are certain crimes that are so offensive, so heinous, that people would say, we need to have that as an option.
The next governor, assuming it's going to be either Vivek Ramaswamy or Amy Acton, Vivek Ramaswamy, same thing. In a small percentage of cases, he says we should have the death penalty, but he's not a huge fan, you can sort of tell. And Amy Acton is like, I'm going to keep the moratorium, and then we want to try to figure this out in the legislature. Again, riding the fence.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like in one camp or the other there is a solution about how to go forward, because if Governor DeWine is being as upfront as he says he's being, and Ohio has actually struggled to get these lethal injection drugs, is Vivek Ramaswamy going to work all that harder to get the drugs? And with Amy Acton's position, although I agree with Terry that I don't think, based on what I've talked to lawmakers about, that there are the votes in the House to pass a repeal, there are definitely not the votes to pass a nitrogen gas bill. And the only method on the books in Ohio right now is through lethal injection.
You know, what's amazing, though, is that having this discussion represents a major sea change from 25 years ago, where, in fact, the whole notion of even raising the issue about abolishing the death penalty would have been almost out of bounds. How could you say that? So
there's two factors in the shift. One, Ohio law was changed to allow juries to choose life in prison without any chance of parole. So that shifted a lot of the convictions that might have gone death penalty. Now they pick the other option. And then the other thing is, in the last 25 years, DNA has come along, which has raised new questions and new safeguards in some ways against things. So there's a variety of factors involved.
Is this going to just fade away, the death penalty, Herb? I mean, there's 109 people, according to the Department of Corrections website, 109 people on death row.
Except for
They're getting older.
Except for the state of Texas. I think you're going to see in a lot of states that, in fact, the death penalty is not this kind of key issue that people had such great passions about in the past, on either side for that matter. But here in Ohio, I think, between the length of time it takes to execute the person and also the fact that a governor can commute, plus we also have all these other protections, I don't think we're going to have a major
To
change.
that point, is there any chance Governor DeWine commutes some or all of those 109 cases now on death row?
I would say that's doubtfully going to change, and I think there's been some legal changes after Dick Celeste let a lot of murderers out when he was governor towards the tail end. So there's been some legal changes that limits a little bit. But again, the issue is changing and evolving, but it can change quickly because we have some large mass murder, some big bombing, some other kind of things that'll rile up. And then also we forget in Ohio, there's gigantic differences of a Franklin County that's more urban college government employees versus a Hamilton County where you've got the southern influence of German Catholic, and that's why roughly a quarter of the people on death row are from Hamilton County with only 8% of the population.
But Sarah, if he wanted to commute or change the sentences, he could. I'm sure it's in his power. He could pardon. He's not going to do that. But he didn't want to talk about that in this news conference. The
Yeah,
governor.
he left the door open. He didn't shut the door on it, but he didn't say. He said he wanted to lay out his position, and he wasn't going to talk about that today. So certainly left the door open. I think that there's a chance. I also think that there's a chance that he doesn't, that he wanted to put on the record, this is where I stand on the death penalty, and maybe he's hoping that 5-10 years down the line, if one coalition or the other gets the votes, they're referencing back to his quotes.
Yeah.
But
Because he's joined Bob Taft, another Republican former governor who has said he opposes the death penalty. The questions continue to grow surrounding Ohio's generous tax breaks given to tech companies. About 10 years ago, the Kasich administration agreed to a 100% Ohio sales tax exemption for tech companies building data centers and other facilities in the state. Those breaks to Google, Amazon, Meta, and other companies, they last decades and they cost the state about $2.5 billion. Cleveland.com reports the tax breaks were hidden in fine print approved by the Ohio Tax Credit Authority. Officials at the time did not greatly publicize the length of those deals. And now those agreements prevent current state lawmakers from peeling back the sales tax breaks as public opposition to the data centers grow. Terry Casey, big tax breaks, nobody knew about them.
Well,
How'd that happen?
Well, they were new because the whole idea of data centers was such an unknown thing. And in some ways, if we never would have got the data centers, never gave them the tax breaks, we never would have lost that potential money if and if. But the other reality, if you look at New Albany has done it right because they've built the data centers away from residential areas. They've built in other ways that the money flows to the city government or the schools. And also right now in New Albany, 3 different companies are building their own electric generation on site, which is going to lessen some of the legitimate questions on electric. So this is evolving, it's new, but fortunately we're on the AI advantage because we never would have got Anduril if we didn't have some of this center here and some of this interest, because it does make a difference having it close by.
So there are benefits to tax breaks, and they argue that, but should lawmakers, they seem to be really caught off guard by this, Herb. Should lawmakers have more of a role in approving these?
Yes.
Specifically.
Yes, and even more broadly, in terms of this whole notion of economic development and incentives and tax breaks and other kinds of promises, infrastructure, it should have a much higher degree of public discussion or whatever. And the challenge here, though, for local authorities, there are certain communities that really don't have capacity to really negotiate with companies. New Albany does, but so if you're a small town or township and you hear that Google wants to come in and they want to, in fact, build a center and they say it'll create jobs, and you really have, how do you say no? It sounds like if you said no, you're against economic development. But in fact, what's happening here is that it's a very uneven battle for most of the area. So I think the reaction against data centers for now makes some sense, and I would hope that the legislature and municipal governments and townships will actually be better positioned to make the right kinds of decisions. And
Is there
certainly
a movement, Sarah, for lawmakers to tighten up on this? I mean, you got the feeling that some state lawmakers are really kind of annoyed may be polite, annoyed by this.
I think lawmakers are pretty frustrated, and I think that there was a kind of last-ditch effort last week, 2 weeks ago, when lawmakers were trying to get out of town before election season, but it kind of fell apart because you got to remember, a year ago in the budget, lawmakers voted to repeal that tax break. Now, of course, the information about how these big three companies were going to be benefiting through the mid 2050s, no matter what lawmakers did, was not necessarily super public. But that effort included a continuation of the tax break. So it kind of fell apart. I had lawmakers telling me, how can I vote to continue a tax break that I voted to get rid of last year and then go back to my district and explain that to people who need to vote for me?
And that bill was this close to passing, but there were OMA, Manufacturers Association objections. But I predict with certainty that after the November elections, when a lot of people aren't as worried about what their constituents are saying, they'll pass something and they'll put in things, because there's a lot of details that need to be fine-tuned. Like one township trustee makes the point that local fire officials need to be able to know what's inside there so they can plan properly if there's an emergency. So there's a lot of details in November that'll get solved, and then there'll be a lot more to come, because this is so new, they're learning, and they're going to make it better.
This is new, but the argument is not new. We heard all of this with the fracking. Well, we can't tell you what stuff we're pumping into the ground because that's proprietary. So the firefighters have no idea what they have to deal with if there's a leak, Herb. It's a new industry. It's data centers now, but this debate keeps happening over and over
Well, in
again.
fact, your mention of fracking reminds me that when, in fact, the major energy companies from Texas were coming to town to try to buy up land, Ohio State's Cooperative Extension Service, now called Ohio Extension, felt that part of their role was to help farmers have the capacity to talk with these energy companies and not get swindled or conned or whatever, not give away their rights. And I remember there were people in the legislature who said, that's exactly what you should be doing. And there were other people in the legislature who said, why are you guys doing that, making it difficult for fracking to occur? And we said, basically, we're trying to make sure that, in this case, it was agricultural interests, had the capacity to make wise decisions. And the challenge here, I think, is, these arguments are always about the creation of jobs, okay? And, it turns out that data centers create a wonderful number of construction jobs. And after that, there's repair jobs, but there aren't many permanent jobs. So locals have to ask the question, is it worth giving this much for a limited number of permanent jobs? And one answer might be yes, because it really gives us such prestige to have Amazon and Google and all these here.
We don't know. I mean, we didn't know about data centers 10 years ago, Sarah,
Yeah.
but 10 years from now, we could find that people are locating next door to the data centers and creating a lot of jobs there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's been some of the defense of these breaks, because the argument is that these data centers create jobs around it as well. But it's tough to say. And, I've heard defenses from some communities that it's like, well, they bring in the tax revenue, but maybe we don't have the room for all the extra people. So that is one defense I've heard of it. But I don't know.
And just a week ago, the New York Times, that normally doesn't like much in Ohio or the Midwest, did a huge piece saying how Central Ohio was a manufacturing and tech hub and how it all fit together. So again, we're learning much. And also sometimes when polling, we'll test, what do you think of data centers? They'll throw on data centers and artificial intelligence. And of course, that scares the heck out of a lot of people, because we aren't all sure what that'll mean.
So is that it? I mean, that's the Fox News poll you're referring to. 2-1, Buckeye voters oppose having an AI data center. But data centers, they help us watch Ted Lasso on Apple TV. They help our phones connect to Facebook and Reddit, and they help our streaming on this program.
It's a changing environment, right? Like 10 years ago, when these data centers were first popping up, because they were here 10 years ago, it was to do that. But there is a difference between data centers are getting bigger. Every week I read the biggest data center in the world's being built.
What makes Ohio so attractive? We have land, we have water, we have electricity, at least for now, and we have transportation routes. So a lot of companies outside of this, Ohio look and say, what a great place. Let's see if we can get the best possible deal. Let's see if we can come into the state and say, look, you could have Amazon, Google, a whole variety of things, and boy, that'll be good for your community. And it may have some benefits, but the question really becomes, what is the cost-benefit analysis here?
And that's why a lot of communities in Ohio are talking to people in New Albany saying, what questions did you ask? What did you get? And also some of the people like Microsoft have now said, we're going to come into places, including Ohio, and not demand non-disclosure things. So I think the companies are evolving because they need to, as well as the local officials.
Yeah, because the politicians are seeing these polls and they're pushing back against no more blank checks for these companies, it seems anyway. Anyway, the candidates for governor continue to travel the state, raising money and building grassroots support. This is still fairly new for Republican Vivek Ramaswamy and Democrat Amy Acton. They've never held elected office before. The most recent public poll done by Fox News shows the race basically tied, with Acton holding a slim 1-point lead over Ramaswamy. That certainly falls within the margin of error. Acton claims she is raising more money than her opponent, but Ramaswamy has much more money in the bank because the billionaire is contributing to his own campaign. Herb Asher, I mean, we're 4.5 months away. Not that long. Do we really know how this campaign is going to shake out?
No, but I think what we can say is what's happened the last 6 months. 6 months ago, the prevailing conventional wisdom was Vivek Ramaswamy was a strong favorite, and Amy was very much an underdog. And he was strongly favored because Ohio's a red state, and he had a little bit more name recognition than she had. And it seemed like he had much greater access to money, not just personal wealth, but the ability to raise money. So he was considered the strong favorite. Today, as the poll shows, a lot of people are saying it's very, very close. And so what's happened in the last 6 months? And there's a number of things that have happened. One, at the national level, the whole atmosphere and context for Republicans has become more sour. It's a midterm election after the election of a Republican president. So there's that's going on. The economy, inflation, an unpopular war, that's all there. But Vivek Ramaswamy has also demonstrated he's made a number of unforced errors. He really, when he made the comments about the property tax, that was, again, he backed off of that. Then he made comments about the income tax, and then he made comments about our children and how and our culture. I mean, so he really has been sort of out of touch in terms of understanding the implications of his comments.
Terry, can he overcome that? Why doesn't he have more of a lead at this point, given how we are a red state?
Part of it, even though us junkies at the table and most of the people watching, most real people are busy with graduations and weddings and vacations, and they haven't focused on the race. So the reality, you still have two people running for governor that are pretty much unknown and don't have the public records as most other candidates for governor have in the past. So it's a long ways to go. The key thing is watch the generic ballot. Right now, the generic ballot's in Ohio is about plus 6% Republican. Watch how that goes and flows, because as Herb correctly noted, part of the drag for Republicans has been at the national level, and Trump. We'll see where gas prices, the economy goes, but it's still a long ways to go. And a lot of people, wisely and correctly, don't really start paying attention until October, when they kind of know it's close and I got to make a decision.
So if you watch Ramaswamy's ads, Amy Acton's not really on TV and ads right now, but all of his ads are kind of introductory ads. His wife is on one. They've got a police officer supporting him. They've got, a victim of human trafficking supporting him and what he's going to do there. Pretty bland, but also introductory.
Well, but in the least, it shows that he's buying ads and airing them during Cincinnati Reds games on the weekends, because I was watching the Reds with my husband, and there was a Vivek Ramaswamy ad, and then there was another one. And it is, like Terry pointed out, early. I mean, the primaries weren't that long ago. So, I think it at least shows that Ramaswamy knows it's going to be a campaign. He's got a campaign for this. But I'm always hesitant to go off polls because they are a snapshot in time. And a lot of polls in the last couple of election cycles in Ohio have shown Democrats doing better than they ultimately do. Republicans have had several slam dunk statewide elections that were potentially going to be close if the polls were right.
Does this stay close to the end, Herb, do you think?
It depends on what happens in the national setting. And it depends on also the Amy Acton campaign. Besides these Vivek Ramaswamy commercials that are introducing himself, there are also a lot of other commercials I've seen on regular broadcast TV and cable that are just slashing Amy Acton. They're just going after her. And so one of the questions, if Amy has money, is when does she go on TV, and when does she do the introduction, but also when does she go after Vivek Ramaswamy? And again, this is an historical example, but back when Michael Dukakis won the Democratic nomination, he was far ahead of George Bush.
10 points in August.
Yeah,
He was ahead.
Yeah. And then the Bush campaign and independent groups went on with a whole slew of negative, vicious commercials. And by Labor Day, and the caucus never responded. He said, well, American people won't buy that nonsense. That won't affect them. And he was so wrong.
Yeah.
And then when he went on TV, it was too late.
The ad wars are just beginning, at least as far as the governor today and the Senate race. They're well underway. Anyway, time now for our final off-the-record parting shots. Terry Case, you're up first.
I'm sitting next to somebody who was had her wedding blessed by the Pope in Rome, which is impressive. But for this week, for my wife, this is our 54th wedding anniversary. And I want to give a shout out because all of us involved in media and politics, spouses and partners, take a beating out of all the things. So it's good that we've survived this long and she puts up with me.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats.
And Herb.
It'll be interesting to look in the governor's race how issues of race, ethnicity, religion, gender play. And I won't say anything more about that now, but it's an interesting pairing of candidates.
One thing's for sure, it'll either be Ohio's first woman governor or first governor of color, regardless.
And the first Hindi or the first Jewish governor.
Yeah, Sarah.
Absolutely. Just interested to continue to watch, even though Governor DeWine's announcement about the death penalty was very much expected. Interesting to watch what people have to say about it and who surprises you with where their positions fall.
All right. We have the perfect pairing to good political conversation, good craft beer. We're hosting our next Politics on a Pint event Thursday night at 7th Sun Brewing in Italian Village. I'll be there, along with WOSU's Amy Jervich. Sarah Donaldson will be there as well. We hope you will join us. These things are a lot of fun, a great way to meet fellow political junkies and public media fans. Register today at wosu.org/events. And if you register and come and pay for your ticket, you get a free pint glass. How about that? That is Columbus on the Record for this week. Reminder to check us out on the WOSU News YouTube page. There you can see and share every episode of this program. Go to YouTube, search for WOSU News. Please subscribe. You can also watch us at our website, WOSU.org, and the PBS app. For our crew and our panel, I'm Mike Thompson. Have a good week.